Welcome back to the Dak Attack Show, ladies and gentlemen. Your home for all the latest news and updates for the Dallas Cowboys 2024 training camp from Oxnard. And today is all about the defense, ladies and gentlemen, as the defense absolutely showed out in the team periods. Micah Parsons has some interesting things to say to the media after practice. Big Mike actually talked football today at today's presser. And Stephen Jones may be backtracking on some of the comments that were made in yesterday's press conference. Without further ado, let's dive right into day 2 of the Dallas Cowboys training camp recap from Oxnard. And be sure to subscribe for all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. First thing first, as we mentioned, the defense had a good day today as Dak Prescott actually threw a couple of interceptions, one to Deron Bland on this diving pick and the other to Jordan Lewis on another athletic play, in which Dak Prescott tried to float a ball over his head, but J. Lou made an excellent play on the ball, and the defense was game today. And I'm going to just say this, y'all. This is what we want to see. We do not want to see Dak Prescott completely ripping up our defensive backs to shreds all offseason, all training camp. We want to see some give and take. We know what Dak Prescott is as QB1 at this point. Now, he's the iron that's going to help us sharpen the rest of the tools on this team. He's going to be what challenges our DBs to get better with the elite ball placement that he displayed even just yesterday with Jalen Tolbert. They used that catch as teach tape. Mike McCarthy actually told us that today in the presser. Those are the types of growth throws that they want to see from Dak Prescott in this receiving core. And Big Mike kind of talked about this, pretty much saying that the biggest area of growth for Dak Prescott at this point is just him having a chance to actually grow with a receiver group. Instead of having to switch out receivers every single year, the biggest area of opportunity for him now is a timing thing with his guys, and that's going to come from reps. That's going to come from being comfortable with your receivers. That's going to come from being on the same page. That's going to come from these guys actually having time to play with each other, and the Jones is giving us some consistency in that receiver room. Just think about it, y'all. We haven't actually had a consistent receiver room that was healthy for like 2 or 3 years at a time. We haven't had that. We have a different receiver, whether it be our secondary receiver or a third receiver on the depth chart, whatever it may be. We have a different receiver room pretty much every season since Dak's been here. So this is his first time that he's going to get a chance to work with the same group of guys or a similar group of guys in consecutive seasons. So with Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, Jalen Cropper, Tyron Billy Johnson is another name we've been seeing pop up a lot in these training camp highlights. It seems like him and Dak Prescott have some decent chemistry going on. Dak has found him on a deep crossing route, and he's been able to catch him on a streak down the sideline. So Tyron Billy Johnson is a name to watch out for. That's someone whose name is popping early on in the training camp period. Speaking of defense, want to touch on a couple of things here now. For one, Micah Parsons saying all the right things right now. For one, he already let us know he wants to be in Dallas for the rest of his career. He loves it here. He loves the fan base. He loves the community. He wants to be a Cowboy for life. He's not worried about the money. He's not talking about money. He's not worried about his contract. That part's going to take care of itself. He said he's going to focus on trying to win games. As far as how we're going to win games and how he's going to contribute to that, it seems like Micah Parsons is going to be taking on a new role this season as Mike Zimmer looks to move him off the ball more often, as we've seen a lot of linebacker Micah Parsons in the training camp period so far in the first couple of days. Specifically today, you can start to see that Mike Zimmer is planning on moving Micah around, and Micah himself made comments in regards to this, saying he has dropped his weight from 250 to 245 this season because he wants to do more. He's going to be all over the field. At the end of the day, the other team has to find him. And I absolutely love this mentality. I want the Cowboys to have this mentality on both sides of the ball. The biggest issue the Cowboys have had in the playoffs is our team goes from being this high-flying offense, this hair-on-fire defense that's creating all these turnovers, to being this ultra-conservative version of the Cowboys who go back to trying to play complimentary football and play the game the right way. Forget all of that, bro. Make teams have to adjust to what we're doing and make them have to stop us from what we're good at before we start dumbing down our game plan and doing other stuff, bruh. I feel like the Cowboys have gotten in their way too many times, doing just that. Last season, even in that Green Bay game, the offense just did not come out in the same looks that we had seen in weeks prior, and it just didn't flow the same. The defense didn't look the same. They weren't aggressive. They were sitting back on their heels, and they were getting their asses burnt, bro. So I absolutely love this. Make the opposing teams have to adjust to us. Stop adjusting to those teams. Obviously, game plan wise, you want to make sure you have a good game plan in place, but stop not doing what you do well just so that way you can try to keep the other team from doing what they do well. That just doesn't make sense. You have one of the most talented rosters in the league. You have amazing playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. You have some of the best players in the league on the offensive side of the ball. Make other teams adjust to us. Love this mentality, man. And just overall, loved what Micah had to say. And I don't know if y'all peeped it, but look at my man's sweatshirt. He said, "It's Lion season. Love me or hate me," is what it says on the back. Now, as far as Mike McCarthy and some of the things that he discussed today in his opening presser before day 2 of training camp practice began, he talked about Mazi Smith's weight and the fact that he's getting close to where the Cowboys want him to be. So Mazi Smith isn't exactly where they want him to be weight-wise, but he is getting close. And everyone, by all accounts, have said that Mazi looks bigger, he looks stronger, and he looks more focused this season. So that's a good sign coming from the defensive tackle, because we're going to need Mazi this season, bro. We're going to need him. Not sure why people are even asking about this, but for some reason our reporters are still asking about the Malik Hooker and Micah Parsons podcast comments. As you would expect, it's a non-story. They're no longer talking about that. They're moving on from it. It's no big deal. An interesting tidbit that came from the presser was the fact that Zeke is really having a strong impact on the locker room just with a veteran presence and with the knowledge that he's gained even from his time in New England. And that's something that Mike McCarthy actually made mention of. And so I can only imagine that Zeke being able to play under Bill Belichick for that season, soak up the knowledge that I know he soaked up while he was there in New England, and being able to come back and really impart some of that knowledge on the locker room is going to be helpful. And Mike McCarthy also mentioned that Zeke is trying to get acquainted to some of the new protection sets that the offense has installed since he has not been here, right? Something Mike McCarthy made big mention of, and we might want to keep an eye on this because this have a huge impact on the players that we see really take the next step this season, and that's a trip to Oregon that Dak Prescott took with the wide receiver room and all his weapons, right? And apparently everybody with CeeDee Lamb was there, but apparently this was a huge trip, and Mike McCarthy was he had glowing reviews about what he felt like it meant for the chemistry and the continuity between his quarterback and his weapons, right? So very interesting note right there. That may be some of the reason why we see players like Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks take a step up this season. We have received confirmation. Mike said it today. Mike Zimmer is known for a scheme, and he's famous for it, and they're going to be putting it in today. So yes, the Cowboys are going to be running that double A-gap scheme. And also, Stephen Jones alluded to the fact that the Cowboys actually had conversations with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb's agents yesterday after that clusterbuck of a press conference. And he said that the discussions were positive, and it seems like all things are headed in the right direction, guys. So hopefully we see CeeDee Lamb and Cowboys training camp within the next week or two, and we see some news about Dak Prescott and CeeDee's contracts dropping any day now, because all indications are pointing in that direction, right? Something kind of funny that happened, though, is the fact that Stephen did backtrack on some of the statements that he and Jerry made in yesterday's press conference, as he came out and clarified CeeDee isn't necessarily dug in on trying to become the highest paid wide receiver in the league. And he also cleared up one of the things Jerry said concerning the percentage that Dak, CeeDee, and Micah would be taking of the salary cap. It would only be about 50%, and that would actually be lower as the years progress because of the rising salary cap. So Steven had to come out and do some damage control, because let's be real, I'm sure CeeDee Lamb's agent was probably like, hey man, what are we trying to do here? Why are you trying to make it seem like CeeDee is asking for an absorbent amount of money? But either way, let me know down in the comments below, what are some of your biggest takeaways from Dallas Cowboys training camp period so far? And I'll see you guys on the next one. We same old cow.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey!